Hello, good morning everyone. Am I audible? Okay, fine. So what did we discuss in the previous class? Any one of you can recall? Can type in the chat box. Development of urinary system. Okay, what all in the urinary system? Urinary system is made up of how many organs and how they develop? Kidneys, ureter, bladder, prostate, urethra. Yes, Alvira, Tanya, Noshin, please reply. I want participation from you all. It's not that I'm sitting here and it's just a monotonous lecture that no one is communicating. Interactive lecture is when we interact. Okay, urethra is there. Fine. Just hang on a moment. So no responses are there. It means you are not studying. Anyway, we'll continue with the development of reproductive system, or you can say the genital system. I'm sharing the screen and then we'll start. But this response is not good. Are you able to see the screen? Okay. So the genital system begins with the development of primordial germ cells. Now the primordial germ cells, they are lying along with the endodermal cells in the wall of the yolk sac close to the dorsal mesentery of the hind gut. And they arrive near the genital ridges at the beginning of the fifth week. Means they migrate from the dorsal mesentery of the gut in the form of amoeboid movements, and they reach the genital ridges in the fifth week. In the sixth week, they invade the genital ridges. Genital ridges are developing from the intermediate mesoderm medially. So dorsal mesentery is lying very close to the genital ridges, and by the amoeboid movements, these primordial germ cells are migrating towards the genital ridges. They reach the genital ridges in the fifth week, invade them in the sixth week, and then sex differentiation takes place in the seventh week. Whereas production of testosterone, if it is a male gonad, it takes place in the 8th week of intrauterine life. So this all things, they happen from the 5th to the 8th week of development or intrauterine life. Now this genital system develops because of the presence of SRY gene on the Y chromosome. So this SRY gene, either its presence or its absence, is responsible for the development of male or female gonads or male or female reproductive system, depending upon the presence of SRY gene. SRY is sex determining region on Y chromosome. Okay, and this gene is present on the short arm of P11. See, it is present over here, and because of this, there is male development, because SRY is present on Y chromosome. So it is this SRY gene only that leads to the male development. Whereas the absence of this gene, absence of Y chromosome, obviously leads to the female development. That is development of ovaries and external genitalia in females. Fine? Is it clear? So this is presence of SRY gene, that is testis formation, and the absence of SRY gene leads to the ovary formation. This is a passive development, means absence of SRY gene is the one that is leading to the formation of female reproductive system. Okay. But during the first 6 weeks, germ cells, they are like in indifferent stage. There is no differentiation between the male and female. And after that, when these primordial germ cells, they reach the genital ridges, the indifferent gonad changes into either male or female, depending upon the presence of SRY gene or absence of SRY gene. So see, this is the dorsal mesentery of the gut over here. There's a yolk sac, and by the side of this, the primordial germ cells, they are lying in the wall of yolk sac. They migrate in this arrow and they invade the genital ridges, allow the differentiation, and forms the male or female reproductive system. See, this one is again shown in an enlarged form where you can see the differentiation in the genital ridges. Now this, by the 6th week, there is no male or female. It is just an indifferent gonad. And also 2 sets of duct appears. They are, one is the Wolffian ducts, that is the mesonephric duct. Mesonephric duct is also known as Wolffian duct, and it develops in male, whereas Mullerian duct is present in female. Mullerian is paramesonephric duct. It is responsible for the female genital system. That is the uterus, fallopian tube, and the vagina. So this is a picture, or you can say a line diagram, to show you how the development is taking place from the primitive gonad ultimately to the either female or male development. The primitive gonad either develops into ovary or testis depending upon the presence of SRY or absence of SRY. If it is ovary, there is Mullerian duct. Mullerian is paramesonephric duct. And because there is no testosterone, the Wolffian duct regresses. Mullerian duct is responsible for the formation of fallopian tube, uterus, and upper part of vagina. Whereas in case of testis, two types of cells are there, Sertoli cells and Leydig cells. The Sertoli cells, they cause the paramesonephric ducts to regress, and the Leydig cells, they cause the development of paramesonephric ducts, ultimately forming the epididymis, vas deferens, and seminal vesicles, along with penis and scrotum. So this is how the male differentiation and female differentiation is from the primitive gonad. So Sertoli cells, as I've told you, they are anti-Mullerian inhibiting substances, and they serve as nurse cells for sperm. Whereas the interstitial cells of Leydig, they secrete testosterone, ultimately forming the male genitals. Now, this is how the male development is taking place. This is the genital ridge, and thick tunica albuginea is present in males. This is tunica albuginea. It is thick in case of male development, and the medullary cords are there. In the medulla, see, this genital ridge is there, the gonad is having cortex and medulla. So in males, it is the medullary part that develops, the cortical part is not developing, whereas it is opposite in case of females. So this medullary cords are developing in the males, and they assume a horseshoe shaped, form the seminiferous tubules, then they form a duct system which ultimately connects it to the mesonephric duct. The horseshoe tubules, they connect to the VT testis, then the ductuli efferentis, ductus deferens, and epididymis. And meanwhile, the seminal vesicle is also formed. This is how what all secretions are there from the Sertoli cells and the Leydig cells. I've already told you that Leydig cells is responsible for the secretion of testosterone, whereas Sertoli cells are responsible for the FSH release and binds to testosterone. Now, this pictorial depiction is showing you how the indifferent gonad under the influence of Y and absence of Y leads to the testis and ovary development. Now, testis, when it develops, medullary cords are developing from the medulla. And the opposite is true in case of ovary. That is, medullary cords here degenerate, but the cortical cords are present in ovary. They form oogonia. Here there is thick tunica albuginea, which separates the testis cords from the surface epithelium, and here in the ovary there is no tunica albuginea. So if you are asked to write about the differences, how the male and female development is taking place and how the testis and ovary differ in development, you can write all these points. This is female, that is ovary development. Here the cortical cords are developing. See, this follicular cells are formed and the primary oocyte is there. This all is present in the cortex, not in the medulla. The medullary cords are degenerating over here. If you compare it with the previous diagram, you will easily understand. See, this one. Where it is the medullary cords present in the medulla, hip tunica albuginea, and the duct system is connecting to the mesonephric duct. Whereas in case of females, you see there are cortical cords, and these cortical cords are responsible for the formation of follicular cells. Okay. Now, the seminiferous tubules in case of males, they are solid until puberty, and they undergo canalization at the time of puberty. This is showing you the male and female development simultaneously, where you can see the horseshoe-shaped seminiferous tubules are connected to the rete testis, then efferent tubules, ductus epididymis, and finally the seminal vesicle and opening into the exterior. That is cloaca. This is again the same thing. Now, how the genital ducts are developing? The Wolffian ducts or the mesonephric ducts, they play a very important role in the development of the male reproductive system. Because these Wolffian ducts are responsible for carrying the sperms to the destination. Whereas the paramesonephric ducts, that is the Mullerian ducts, they are responsible for the female reproductive system development. And this is how the duct system is present in male and female. See, the paramesonephric ducts are crossing the mesonephric ducts from lateral to the medial end. They fuse in the midline. Both the sides, they come together in the midline and fuse, forming the fallopian tubes. The open end is the fallopian tube. Whereas the one fused is forming the uterus and upper part of vagina. The same thing, giving rise to the seminal vesicle and the ejaculatory duct. This is how the whole thing is. Duct system of the male having the seminal vesicle and the utriculus prostaticus. That is the remnant of this mesonephric duct. That's appendix of testis and utriculus prostaticus in case of females. This is how the seminal vesicle develops. It's a lateral outgrowth from the caudal end of each mesonephric duct that give rise to the seminal vesicle. See, this one, lateral outgrowth is there from the mesonephric duct. Now, this prostatic vesicle is basically this utriculus prostaticus. It is the homologue of uterus in males. Because in males, uterus is not present. So it is the homologue of uterus in males, and the appendix testis or the appendix of testis is also the terminal end. As I've already told you, mesonephric ducts and paramesonephric ducts. This is just to explain you. Now, paramesonephric ducts, they are developing like this. See, it's from the coelomic epithelium, invagination occurs, and this invagination grows downwards to form paramesonephric duct, and it is basically cranially opening into the abdominal cavity to form a funnel-like structure that forms the fimbrial atrium. So as I've told you, it is from lateral going to the medial part, crossing the mesonephric duct, and then fusing in the midline to open at the level of cloaca. So this part, open end, is responsible for the formation of fallopian tube, which is having the fimbria at its end, and the medial part gets absorbed and forms the uterus, the fundus of the uterus and the body of the uterus, along with the upper 1/3 of vagina. This is the explanation as I've told you just now. Caudal parts fuse to form the uterine canal, and a broad transverse pelvic fold is established, which extends from the lateral sides of the fused paramesonephric duct towards the wall of the pelvis. And it is surrounded by myometrium and perimetrium. So, uterus is basically having epithelial part, and this epithelium is developing from the endoderm, whereas the myometrium is developing from the mesoderm. The unfused parts, as the uterus expands, they also get absorbed, as in the case of, we talked about the development of left atrium, where the absorption of the pulmonary veins is there to form the smooth part of left atrium. Similar is the thing that happens to form the fundus of the uterus by the absorption of the unfused parts. Some part of the paramesonephric duct is unfused, and that gets absorbed as the uterus enlarges, forming the fundus of the uterus. This is again the same picture. Now, in case of mesonephric system, the mesonephric ducts, as you know, they are retrogressing in the females, but certain remnants are formed from this mesonephric duct. These remnants are known as ip-oophoron, par-oophoron, and Gardner's cyst. So, ip-oophoron is, ip is upon, oophoron is ovary. So, upon the ovary, it is ip-oophoron. Whereas par-oophoron is by the side of the ovary, and the Gardner's cyst is present. It is basically the extension going downwards to the lower end of vagina, and it is in the form of a cyst. These are the remnants of mesonephric system. And these are the remnants of mesonephric system in the female reproductive system. This is again the thing that is showing you the testis secretes the Müllerian inhibiting substance, and the paramesonephric ducts are suppressed in case of males. And this leads to the development of mesonephric ducts, which ultimately form the vas deferens and epididymis along with the rete testis and ductules. Whereas in the case of ovary, it is the estrogens leading to the development of paramesonephric ducts, and these paramesonephric ducts are responsible for the formation of uterine tube, that is the fallopian tube, uterus, and upper portion of vagina. These are some of the anomalies of the developing uterus and vagina. Uterus diadelphys means two uterus are present. Uterus arcuatus is when there is indentation in the fundus. Bicornis means two horns are there in the uterus. Two individual horns. There is not complete partition, but incomplete partition of the uterus leading to the two horns of the uterus. Then there is uterus bicornis unicornis. Bicornis is two horns are there, but cavity is single. Then there could be atresia of cervix. That is, cervix is not open. This is atresia of vagina. Lower down, the opening is closed. Now this, we are talking about that the vagina develops from the paramesonephric duct's terminal end, that is the upper 1/3 of vagina is formed from the paramesonephric ducts. So this basically is the solid part that reaches the pelvic part of urogenital sinus. And this pelvic part of urogenital sinus is responsible for the formation of sino-vaginal bulb or the vaginal plate. I'll show you in a diagram. Say this one. This is the caudal part of paramesonephric duct. Here there is urogenital sinus, the caudal part. Both of them oppose each other and they form the vaginal plate. This urogenital sinus is developing in the form of a plate, and this is the vaginal plate. Canalization occurs because of the cell death and a large cavity is formed in it. Now, at the terminal end of vaginal plate, there is a membrane-like structure that is closed. At the birth, this opens, and this is the hymen. This is a side view showing you the uterus along with the developing vagina. The sino-vaginal bulb is over here, and then canalization is finally taking place. This is one anomaly, that is transverse vaginal septum may be present between the vaginal plate, and this is a rare anomaly, almost 1 in 70,000 females. Now, vaginal atresia could be there, that is non-canalization, or the opening is not there. Imperforate hymen, when the hymen fails to form an opening, then this is imperforate hymen. Perforation is not there, means. Now, this imperforate hymen is usually noticed in 14 to 16 years of age, and the uterine functioning is normal. So, when there is collection of menstrual blood inside the vagina, it is cryptomenorrhea. Whereas, if it distends the vagina, it is hematocolpos, and if the uterine cavity is involved, it is hematometra. And if it reaches the fallopian tubes, negligence is there, and it reaches the fimbrial ends, then it is known as hematosalpinx. These are certain conditions which are named if the imperforate hymen is there. Descent of the ovaries is not more as in case of males, like testis descent is more. Ovaries do not descend much, and the cranial ligament that forms the suspensory ligament of the ovary and the ligament of the ovary proper. See, this is suspensory ligament of ovary, and this is ligament of ovary proper. Whereas this part is known as round ligament of uterus. This is the gross part you will come across when you will study the gross anatomy of pelvis. Here there is descent of testis. Testis descends by 26 weeks retroperitoneally to the deep inguinal link, and androgens may guide the descent. It may take 2-3 days, and the inguinal canal then contracts after they enter the scrotum. That is, they are initially present in the pelvis and they descend down to the scrotum. See, this is how the descent is there. They carry along with it the facial extensions of the abdominal wall. The descent of the ovary, testis, and the herniation part you will study when you will study the abdomen and pelvis. I mean, you must be studying. These days, abdomen and pelvis is going on. This is when the hydrocele is there. These are some of the anomalies of processus vaginalis. There's congenital hernia. Hydrocele is collection of fluid. It's a cyst-like structure. Vaginal hydrocele may be there. Funicular hernia may be there. Infantile. Various types are there. I'll not go into the details. Now, fate of mesonephric duct and tubules in the male is very important. You may get it as a short note. So, what all It is the ureters, calyceal system, collecting tubules. Then there is trigone of the bladder, because all this is mesodermal. Mesonephric duct is there. Posterior wall of the part of prostatic urethra. Then there is whole of the duct system of the testis, that is epididymis, vas deferens, a gland that is seminal vesicle, ejaculatory duct, and as there is trigone of the bladder, there is mesodermal part of prostate. Then there is appendix of epididymis, vasa efferentia, and in case of males, there are superior and inferior aberrant ductules along with the paradymis. Paradymis is present in the gap between this testis and the epidymis. So this is lying by the side of epidymis, known as paradymis. Superior and inferior aberrant ductules are present. This I have already explained to you. Oophoron and parophron along with the Gardner's cyst in the females. The table showing you what all parts are developing from the Wolffian duct, Mullerian duct, and the urogenetic sinus along with the mesonephric tubules. In case of males, it is superior and inferior aberrant ductules along with the paradymis. Whereas in case of females, it is the epiphron and the parophron. There was some connectivity issue at my end. Um, how many slides have you seen? Anyone please reply. I'll share the screen and then you can tell me. It's causing some problem. I'm not able to like. Rizwan, can you tell me where was I when the connection was disrupted? Hello. Any one of you can please tell me where was I? Please type in the chat box. Till tea time slide. You have seen everything. Okay. Okay, fine. So There are certain videos also regarding the development of the male and female reproductive system, but as this is not my system, I have to take the class from the chairman's chamber because my computer somehow got non-functioning. So I've posted all the videos in the Google Classroom. You can go through the Google Classroom and watch all the videos along with some of the models from the museum also I have posted there. It is related to the development of cloaca and mesonephric and the paramesonephric ducts, how they enter the cloaca, along with some other models, that is development of the genital system. Although there are no urinary system models, they are just the genital system models, how they are like entering and how the bladder is having the opening from the this ureters and everything. If you have any problem, you can ask me in my WhatsApp. And those who haven't submitted their EC assignment, please do so at the earliest because it carries 10 marks. Please tell all your class fellows, those who haven't submitted. I have received many of them. I think almost 90 I have got, but still many more are left. So please ask them to submit their assignment at their earliest. And you tell me your roll numbers. I'll just write down the roll numbers and mark the attendance later on when I'll get my system back. Yes. Start telling me your roll numbers, please. I'm
Roll number 15.
Just a minute. I'll stop sharing. I can see many of you over here. Roll number 15.
Yes, ma'am. Roll number 50, 50.
50. Then
Ma'am, roll number 20.
11.
One by one, please. Roll number?
Ma'am, roll number 13, 13.
13. Then
11.
11. Then
28.
28. Next.
Ma'am, 20.
44.
20 what? Hello?
21.
44.
21.
21. Then it is 44.
Yes, ma'am.
Then next one.
79.
One by one, please.
89. 34.
39.
89.
89. Okay, next.
34.
34.
Yes.
Next.
Ma'am, 71.
71.
Ma'am, 64.
64.
Ma'am, 20. 73.
2020. Okay, next.
48.
Ma'am, 74.
74. Then
Ma'am, 73.
73. Next. 84. 87 also.
27.
27. Then
67.
67.
Roll number 7.
07. Okay.
Ma'am, roll number
38.
84.
84. 84. Okay. Then 84 I have marked you already. Roll number 8.
83.
83.
Yes, ma'am.
Then
27.
27. Then
Ma'am, roll number 46.
146. Okay, next.
120.
Roll number 121.
121. 124 is also there.
Yes, ma'am.
114. One by one, please. One by one. 114.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, 107.
107.
Ma'am, 124.
124.
Ma'am, 121.
121 I have marked you.
148.
Ma'am, 128.
48.
7.
Ma'am, 128
also.
Ma'am, 137.
137.
Ma'am, 143.
145.
20.
43.
20. 20 you have.
No, ma'am, 120.
120. Okay. Then
143.
Ma'am, 110.
110. Yes. 11 you have marked, I think.
Ma'am, 14.
Just a minute, just a minute. 11 has
Ma'am,
already been marked.
142.
Ma'am, 14. 1 4.
1 4. Then
142.
Ma'am, 42.
142.
Ma'am,
Just 42.
42. Just 42.
Okay.
87.
57. Then
133.
Ma'am, 79.
137 and 79.
87, ma'am.
87. 113 and 116.
Ma'am, 143.
143. Again 143. Okay.
Roll number 5.
One by one, please. One by one.
Ma'am, 139.
138.
No, ma'am, only 038.
127.
38 only. Then 37. 37 is
127.
also there. 127.
127.
आप दोबारा मार्क कर रहे हैं अटेंडेंस.
90.
हाँ 127 के बाद कौन है?
139.
95, ma'am.
95. 94 also?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, next.
Ma'am,
7.
115.
97. 97.
97. 115.
Ma'am,
Then
109.
109.
Ma'am, 106.
109 is also there.
Ma'am,
Ma'am,
139.
139. 139.
133.
137. 133. 137. Okay, next.
Ma'am, 147.
147. Then
Ma'am, 144.
144. Then
132. Ma'am, 148.
32. ये इतना रिपीट हो रहा है आप लोगों का रोल नंबर. 148. Then
132.
111.
111. Next.
Ma'am, 132.
Ma'am, 140.
140. Then
132.
132. आपने बोल दिया फिर से
Ma'am,
आप बोलिए.
135.
कितनी बार बोला है?
Ma'am,
135.
135.
अच्छा और
6.
जी
26.
26 और
06. 106.
06.
106.
मतलब सारे बोल देंगे. 26 06 106 78
Yes, ma'am.
और
Ma'am, 115.
और कौन है? अम्मार कासमी. व्हाट्स योर रोल नंबर?
मैम रोल नंबर 33 फैसल.
33 फैसल हो गए. और
Ma'am,
बेटा
115.
115 कितनी बार बोल चुकी हैं आप लोग? ऑलरेडी मार्क्स हूँ. उसके बाद बताइए 33 के बाद. रिजवान आपका रोल नंबर क्या है? रिजवान व्हाट्स योर रोल नंबर? तहूरा. रोशन.
Yes, ma'am. 45 roll number. Tahura.
45. देन रोशन का क्या है? शगुन अग्रवाल. शगुन व्हाट्स योर रोल नंबर? शाइस्ता. अम्मार कासमी. अरसलान जजदानी. आपने रोल नंबर बताइए. आप लोगों का हो चुका.
95 अरसलान इजदानी हो
अच्छा
गया.
ठीक है. 95 हो गया.
मैम
और कोई बचा है?
5
5.
रोशन.
ओके. और कौन? शगुन.
मैम 106.
106 हो गया. और अच्छा आप लोगों ने फीडबैक फॉर्म्स भी फिल नहीं किए हैं सबने.
120 अम्मार
जस्ट
कासमी.
113 आई हैव गॉट. अमार व्हाट्स योर रोल नंबर? अमार 121.
Ma'am, 120.
120. आप सबका हो गया ना? एनीवन लेफ्ट? ओके. Many of you have given repeat attendance. इतने लोग हैं नहीं क्लास में. But repetition is there definitely. Those who haven't yet filled up the feedback form, please do so by today. And how many of you are attending the campus classes? I mean, how many of you are coming for the practicals? How much is the attendance? Full or not? Amar,
Pending, ma'am.
जी बताइए. सब लोग आ रहे हैं?
Yes, ma'am.
तो फीडबैक फॉर्म सिर्फ मुझे 113 ही मिले हैं. Ask rest of them to fill up the feedback forms. I want complete 150 or 153. How many of you are there? I want total feedback forms from each one of you regarding my class. Okay? It's not about the dissection. It's not about the practical. It is regarding my interactive teaching or the traditional teaching I have already done. ठीक है अमर? So it's your responsibility. I'll ask you. Fine?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.